Welcome to Rising History, your home for epic tales, forgotten empires, and strange twists of the past, where we bring history alive. Subscribe now and join us on this timeless journey. Entire history of the Roman Empire. Imagine a single city, just a cluster of huts on the banks of the Tiber River, that grew into an empire ruling over 70 million people, stretching from the deserts of North Africa to the misty forests of Britain. For over 1,000 years, Rome shaped law, language, religion, and war, and then it collapsed. Today, we're going to tell the entire history of the Roman Empire, its rise, its glory, and its ultimate fall, in one epic story. So buckle up, because this is not just history. It's the story of power, ambition, and the empire that still echoes in our world today. And hey, if you love history told like this, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next empire we cover. The mythical beginning. Every empire loves a good origin story. Rome begins with a myth. Two brothers, Romulus and Remus, abandoned as infants, raised by a she-wolf. Romulus eventually kills Remus and names the new city after himself, Rome. Sounds more like Game of Thrones than real history, right? But this myth mattered. It gave Romans a sense of destiny, that they were chosen, even from the start, the Roman Republic. In reality, Rome began as a small kingdom, but in 509 BCE, the Romans overthrew their king and created a republic, a government run by elected officials and a senate. Imagine if the United States today had its roots 2,500 years ago. That's how radical Rome was. Citizens could vote, debate, and even remove corrupt leaders. Of course, it wasn't perfect. Only the wealthy elite really had power, while ordinary people, called plebeians, constantly fought for their rights. But here's Rome's superpower: adaptability. Whenever a crisis hit, Rome adjusted its laws, expanded citizenship, and, unlike most kingdoms, rewarded loyalty with inclusion. This is how a tiny city started to dominate Italy, conquering the Mediterranean. Rome didn't just defend itself, it expanded aggressively. Its biggest test: Carthage, a rival superpower in North Africa. The Punic Wars were some of the bloodiest conflicts of the ancient world. Hannibal famously marched war elephants across the Alps and nearly destroyed Rome. But in the end, Rome crushed Carthage so completely that the city was burned to the ground. The message was clear: Rome doesn't forgive, and Rome doesn't forget. By the 2nd century BCE, Rome controlled Spain, Greece, North Africa, and much of the Mediterranean. The Republic had become the dominant force in the known world. The fall of the Republic. But here's the twist: Rome could conquer the world, but it couldn't control itself. Senators grew corrupt, the gap between rich and poor widened, and ambitious generals started to think, maybe I should be in charge. Enter Julius Caesar, military genius, populist hero, dictator. His rise to power shattered the fragile republic. In 44 BCE, a group of senators stabbed him to death, thinking they were saving democracy. Instead, they opened the gates to civil war, the rise of the empire. Out of that chaos rose Caesar's adopted heir, Octavian, later called Augustus. He was smart. Instead of calling himself king, he kept the Senate, the elections, and the old traditions. But everyone knew the truth. Augustus was the first emperor of Rome. Under him, Rome entered the Pax Romana, 200 years of relative peace and prosperity. Roads, aqueducts, cities, all connected by Roman law and order. If you lived under Roman rule, chances are your life got better. The empire was like the world's first global brand, spreading Latin, architecture, and even pizzas Ancestor, flatbread, day life in Rome. So, what was it like to live in the empire? Picture this: bustling marketplaces, public baths where gossip flowed as easily as water, massive gladiator games in the Colosseum. Romans loved entertainment, sometimes bloody, sometimes extravagant. And yet, life was very different depending on your class. A senator might dine on exotic spices from India, while a poor citizen survived on bread and olives. Still, Rome's infrastructure, roads, aqueducts, public baths, was unmatched in the ancient world. Expansion and crisis. Rome kept expanding. At its height, under Emperor Trajan, it stretched from Britain to Mesopotamia. But with size came problems. Border defenses strained, rebellions broke out, and emperors became, let's just say, unpredictable. Some were wise philosophers, like Marcus Aurelius. Others were cruel and unstable, like Nero, who supposedly fiddled while Rome burned. The decline. By the 3rd century, cracks were showing. Rome split into East and West for easier management. The economy struggled. Armies were expensive, loyalty was fragile, and new enemies pressed in: Germanic tribes, Persians, and eventually the Huns. In 476 CE, the Western Roman Empire officially fell when the last emperor, Romulus Augustus, was overthrown. The once mighty empire was reduced to fragments. The legacy. But here's the thing: Rome never really died. Its language, Latin, became the foundation of Spanish, French, Italian, and more. Its laws shaped modern justice. Its roads became Europe's highways. Even Christianity, which started as a persecuted religion, became Rome's greatest export, shaping the faith of billions today. Every time you walk into a courthouse with Roman columns, or watch a Senate debate, or hear the word Caesar turned into Kaiser or Tsar, you're hearing the echo of Rome. So that's the entire history of the Roman Empire, from a myth about brothers and a wolf to an empire that still shapes our lives. The rise, the glory, the fall, and the legacy that never ended. If you enjoyed this journey through time, give this video a like. It really helps the channel grow. And if you want more epic stories of civilizations, wars, and empires, make sure to hit that subscribe button. The next empire story is coming soon. And trust me, you don't want to miss it.